As a performer, your body is there.
Hi, I'm Mad Kate, and you're listening to S.W.E.A.T, Sexuality, Work, Extraction, Art, Theatrics. S.W.E.A.T is a series of conversations about performance and performativity of the sexual and sexualized body at work, where work is broadly defined as the labor of survival, the labor of care, creativity, and capital A art. How exactly do we define our work? And how does that work entangle and circumscribe our sexual identities, our creative lives, and the way in which we provide care? How do we perform tasks, acts of care, and identities? Anchored in our always already racialized and sexualized bodies, our complex intersectionalities, these conversations are a means of relating through work to each other. I hope they contribute to dialogues which normalize sex work as work, and all work is deserving of respect, healthy conditions, and a living wage.
I changed my name. I changed the way that people call me in the streets. I can walk up to a stranger and they can refer to me in a certain way because of the decisions that I've made about how I adorn my body, about how I sit, how I talk. Like, all of these things that have been conscious decisions that I've made have affected the way that I experience the world. And therefore, then I was exploring even further through drag about what are all of the various other ways that I can experience being. And through that, have this sort of liberation of my own consciousness.
This month's conversation is with performer, singer, drag artist, graphic designer, and writer Nancy Nutter. Nancy is one half of the piano cabaret duo The Dames, the lead vocalist of trans-femme punk band Girls in Your Area, and head of performance at TRACEY. Nancy teaches gender performance in various workshops, including the Embodied Disruption series, KÖNIG, and at ARTHAUS.
The fact that I was assigned a gender at birth, it's a violence for all of us. When we are assigned gender at birth, it's something that's been taken away from us, and it's something that's prescribed to us. It's a trauma that we all have. And so therefore to then be like, oh, my identity is based around that trauma, also is confusing.
My conversation with Nancy moved through parenthood, gender, drag, folk music, worker solidarity, the aching vulnerability of performing your truest self in front of a room of strangers, and the power of empathy. Nancy also shared with me some of their brilliant ideas on gender beyond the binary that she's outlining in her book in progress, working title, Drag, Disruption, and Dissent.
I know that you are talking, like the theme is about care and everything like that. And something that's been coming to my mind a lot is about having children, which is something that I know that you do. Because I feel like I would probably one day eventually like to have a child, or like to have some sort of family. But I have no idea how to even begin to do such a thing like that in such a world as this. Like, it's so difficult to even be able to take care of myself and to take care of the rent and everything. And I just feel like we live in a world right now which is so far removed from, for example, the world that my parents sort of grew up in, where they could get like a house and a stable job, and therefore from that base create like a family.
Well, it's nice that you're bringing that in. I think it's not something I've actually spoken with anybody on the podcast about directly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I've been wanting to speak more about parenting because it's such a care work thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know, it's interesting because I think people often speak about how they don't want to bring kids into the future somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
But on the other hand, I think having a child is a really specific experience of watching human development, if nothing else. Mm-hmm. And that's not something that we can do with our fellow adults.
Yeah.
You know, we do watch our fellow adults change, but not maybe to quite such a rapid extent.
Absolutely.
And we also watch our fellow adults be influenced by us, and we see the way that we imprint on them, but we don't necessarily have such a big influence as we do on children. We're really forming their early experiences and kind of sort of curating the world for them in the first years. I've often said to people that I think of parenting like being a kind of shaman, because your kid is going through such actual brain development that they're kind of high the whole
yeah.
time. Like if I were to equate it to different kinds of substances, you know, sometimes it's like they're high on coke and sometimes they're like on a psychedelics. And, you know, and like the job of the parent is basically to like make them feel safe, allow them to explore, you know, give them some free rein, but also be a little bit protecting of where they go, but also not limit them so much that their trip goes bad, you know?
Yeah.
And also that like the little things we say can like, really heavily influence them.
Yes, absolutely.
So much.
I remember.
Yeah. And you're like, as a parent, you were like, what? You remember that?
Yeah.
I didn't mean anything by it.
Absolutely. But it is a funny thing because I do feel like a lot of people that I speak to about this, they're like, oh, absolutely not. No way. I'm not going to bring a child into this world. And like, I get it because when I was growing up, I always said to like my mum that I didn't want to have kids. And by that, I meant I didn't want to procreate. And I still don't. In fact, I can't. I literally like cut off that option with hormones. But as I've gotten like older, I do feel like there's a desire to, nurture another generation in a way, because I feel like I can do that with like my work and with my like art, but it's like a whole nother level. And I think that the big thing has been seeing my cousin, and she never met anybody that she wanted to have a kid with. So she just adopted a kid on her own and is like raising him, and he's amazing.
I'm all for it. I think it's a beautiful experience. And I also think that, you know, like if we're concerned about the future of collectively, like we want to further human race, like obviously we're bringing more kids into the world. Somebody is doing it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it might as well be us, or like, not necessarily us procreating, but us deciding to be stewards to the next generation, because they're gonna still come.
Absolutely.
And kids come hell and high water. They come when there's no money and no resources. They come everywhere in all sorts of situations. And so for sure, like if we have the desire to be part of that stewardship, I say, why not? I don't think there's ever really a better or worse time. Yeah, I mean, how do you imagine forming this kind of community? What would be your ideal community of forming a family?
I don't know. I've not got that far yet, to be honest. It's more just something that's like the beginnings of ideas. And that's kind of the nice thing, is that it's not like there's no body clock that I need to worry about, you know? So there's no rush either. I kind of feel like if you put the notion out into your like your brain, or just start speaking about it, or like sort of energetically put it out into the universe, that things can fall into place. And I also believe if that idea of like taking it into your own hands as well, like if it's like, I want to have a kid, I want to adopt, and just going for it. And like my co-parent decided to get artificially inseminated, and I think that was just a powerful action, you know, where that's something that I haven't experienced, actually, like giving birth. And it's hard for me to think that I may never experience that, because I think the act of giving birth is very different than the act of parenting, and it's sort of a labor, like day-to-day thing, right? And I'm just having to make peace with that. But if you have that notion to be like, I'm going to take this matter into my own hands and adopt, I think that's really powerful. And maybe meanwhile having conversations about who co-parents can be. And it's so nice to see that there's like a lot of possibilities for that, right? Yeah. In like dream world, I'd want to make like some sort of like cyborg situation where like I could carry the baby. That would be so gender affirming. And like, it's something that when I was a kid, I always looked at my auntie who was like pregnant while I was growing up, and I was always like, oh my God, that's going to be me one day. Amazing. It was always what I thought of. And then when I like got a bit older and realized that that's not something that's possible with the body that I have, I was a bit like, oh damn. But like, I feel like that would also be good. I mean, there's also this, do you know Shulamith Firestone, who was talking about, like we like, there's no end goal to feminism until we have artificial wombs. I feel like when I first read that, I imagined it as being like a test tube situation. But I feel like it could maybe be some sort of like cyborg situation where you still have like a parent who the technology is still attached to. So there's still a symbiotic relationship as the baby is developing and everything. But it doesn't necessarily need to be that the parent has a womb and uses their womb to create You know?
Yeah.
Could that be a thing?
I think it could.
Right? I feel like there's so many like crazy stuff going on with science.
Wow. Oh, I feel like that's within our reach in science.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
That would be fucking cunt. Yes.
What is it in that process that you would like to experience or imagine experiencing in that, in the pregnancy?
Well, I guess I always had such a deep connection and relationship with my mum. And I know that that is because I was literally grown in her belly. And then I think that there was always just something about that which really fascinated me. And having such a relationship as that, I think also really deeply moves me, I guess. I think it's so profound. And it's something that is like, it's such a special bond that I have with my mum. And yeah, it'd be interesting to experience the other side of that, I guess.
It's interesting, is like hearing you say that, then I wonder, does this trigger activate a part of me that feels insecure about not being a birth parent? Mm-hmm. Did I get bonded enough with my kid when she laid on my chest, like within hours of being born, you know?
Totally.
And really goes to that like nature versus nurture question, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, I can't deny that there is a kind of connection between my daughter and our birth parent in our constellation. Yeah, I don't know. What is that? What do you think?
But also, like, for example, if I think about my cousin's child who was 2 when they met, you know, and they have still such a deep and intimate bond that is like just as deep and intimate as the one that I have with my mum, I think, even though they didn't even meet for the first 2 years of their life. So I think it's like, it's still very much nurture, I would say, in my mind, just because of knowing that example. I don't know if that contradicts what I was saying before.
No, I think that they kind of both exist, and maybe that's what's interesting about it.
Yeah, totally.
Do you feel like you'd also want to experience all of these other things around pregnancy, like the intense hormonal, like, I don't know, everything, like from the cravings to like possible like depression to, you know, just like mood swings to all these other aspects that go with it, to like the need to be also taken care of in a certain way, and like having to like let go of control to others, or you know, during birth giving, like this massive letting go of control to what your body does.
It's funny because you know how you were saying about how it's like a drug experience. When you say that, that's what it feels like. It's like you would be basically just going on this journey that lasts for like a really long time. Like, that's one hell of a trip.
Yeah. In
which you kind of go through all of these different things, and you need to rely on other people, and you lose sense of your own body, and it is crazy, like, to think of.
It's interesting also hearing you say that you, from what I'm understanding what you said, you knew very early that you were trans. Or is that true?
I didn't know that I was trans. I knew that I knew certain innate things about myself, but I didn't have a word for it.
Okay.
I didn't have a word for it until much later in my life. And when I first heard the word trans, I didn't think that was me at all, because they were like, "Oh, trans means that you're like born in the wrong body," which I'm like, how can you feel like you're born in the wrong body? I'm like, this is clearly my body, like, you know, like it might, like maybe if it had been said as like, oh, trans means that there are certain things about your body that don't align with the way that you're like perceived then in society, then I might have been like, oh yeah, that could be me, you know. But how do you feel like your body is anything other than just your body?
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Or I've heard that from other people as well, but I guess it's different for everyone too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When you said that you felt somehow connected to this idea of the womb, was that something that does that connect to that sense of transness, or is there a different word that you would use?
And a sense of dysphoria as well. Like, there's a line in one of the songs from Girls in Your Area called Phantom Womb.
I was going to ask you about that song. I love that song.
Like, one of the lines is, I rarely feel dysphoric about my jennies, like my genitals, but I do feel the dysphoric ache around not having a womb, which is kind of the first place that I would say that I felt dysphoria, maybe, is probably this realization when I was a kid. It's funny, I've never really thought about this so much before. not in such an explicit way as a conversation. Like, obviously it's manifested in the way that I like write lyrics because I wrote those lyrics, but to think about it in such clear terms, yeah.
I remember that I was really touched by that song when I heard it because it just made me feel very linked to you, actually, because I have a womb, but that I haven't like used it, let's say. Yeah, it was like really a nice moment of sisterhood to hear you speak about it also publicly. Yeah, I really appreciated it.
Nice.
Yeah. I know we say a lot that like it takes a village, and I think it does take a village, but I don't think most of the village is actually available in reality.
Yeah.
As a parent, what I've noticed is like there is a big difference between taking on the role of co-parent, and I have 2 co-parents, so we're 3, and everyone else. And yeah, there's like some more involved people, but mostly I find it really challenging, actually, to really get like the amount of support. I don't want it to sound like a poor me, etc., but like I wonder about this, how to really cultivate that village, or what you feel like would be, how would that village be comprised?
I was from like a big Catholic family. My mum's one of 7. So I had like lots of cousins, lots of aunties and uncles, and my grandparents. So it was always a lot of people around. So when I think of like this, it takes a village, I think about my parents, but also about my aunties and uncles and my grandparents, and also my cousins and the roles that they played in like also raising me and being role models for me. And I guess that then in terms of my life now, like, because right now I have a village, which is my like chosen family.
Yeah.
And I guess that'd be interesting to see what roles different people would play in such a constellation. Like, I have so many sisters, you know, are they going to be aunties? Probably.
Yeah, I think that's the question that comes up for me a lot in terms of chosen family, especially in queer community, is how we actually designate that. There is this moment that comes around, you know, really showing up. The teacher calls and your kid has had an injury and you're not available. Who's actually going to show up?
Yeah.
I feel like we're moving towards that. Like, even in just saying, let's have a 3-parent family. Or
Yeah,
like,
right? That's mental.
Right. Or just like these apps where you can search for partners to have kids with now.
Really? What, like Tinder but for parents?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what are they going to think of next?
Right? So now I'm thinking, okay, we need like to expand that to who's going to be the aunties and uncles.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
do you want to talk more about your family and how you came into singing?
So when I was a kid, I always loved singing so much. And then my mum took me to like the local youth theatre group for musical theatre, and she took me there, and I had to sing Tomorrow from Annie, and I sang it, and then the guy was like, "Nah, he's shit, take him away." And then my mum was like, "Oh bless, like, oh poor kid, like loves singing but shit at singing, bless." So my mum always like pitied me for it, really. And then years later, I came home from school and I was like, "Oh my God, Mum, I've got the lead part in the school musical." And she was like, "Oh God, they're all going to bully him. They're all going to take the piss, like freaking hell, like, oh no," like also really worried, like freaking hell. And then she came to watch it on the first night, and she tells the story of like that I came out and I just started singing, and she was like gobsmacked, like, what the fuck, like who knew that they had this voice in them. And then she bought a ticket for every other night. she just kept coming back to watch it. And yeah, so sweet. And so that was kind of like the journey, I guess, with singing. It was like something that I always thought that I couldn't do. And then I auditioned for the role in the musical, and I think that I got the main part by default because I was like the only boy that had applied. Also, like, my drag king debut was this role as Seymour Krelborn in Little Shop of Horrors. Yes, absolutely. I loved it. It was so fun. And, like, I just loved, like, being in a musical and, like, being around all of the other musical theatre people in, like, my school. It was really, like... It was a refuge.
Oh, I can see how this nerdy boy drag character has influenced you in some of your manifestations.
Absolutely, yes, totally. First time drag king in. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that as well, because I feel like I never really thought about my gender very much, or about my character very much. So it's kind of nice to be able to play a character where you're like, okay, now I'm intentionally being a certain way instead of just like kind of autopiloting through the default. Because that, I guess I was like 15 years old at the time, which was, it was the same time that I was actually really not doing very well in terms of like my mental health and everything, because I was going through puberty and because I was completely dissociating from my body and through all of the changes that were happening to me. So it also came at a really good time to be able to just be like, okay, I'm playing a character that I understand, that I can do, and I can let this character out through my vocal cords and like play this part and be, yeah, in drag doing musical theatre.
Had you already at that time heard about drag?
No, not at all. Maybe I'd been to Blackpool. I'd seen the girls walking the streets. All right, love. So I probably had like a periphery, but I definitely didn't know about like drag king, like I didn't even know that gender was a performance at that time. And I wasn't aware of what I was doing at all by like performing this gendered role. It's only in hindsight that I can reflect on that.
Oh, it's like I always get to these forks in the road. Like I want to go deeper into that because I want to know more about your relationship to drag. And I'm also curious about this singing, because you said that one side of your family had this folk band. And so you have all these folk influences. And I'm just curious a little bit about that because a lot of my influences are folk as well. And I love hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like my mum's siblings have a folk band where they do like all just like songs from like around Burnley where I'm from, and like just classic folk songs, and they're so beautiful, and they would do like all harmonies between like the five of them. I think that it also influenced the way that I see singing as well, because they would do it without any like musical accompaniment, just like the five voices. So this kind of like very raw, like from the heart kind of singing, which is kind of now what I do with Eve and with the Dame. So it's just me and a piano. It's kind of like, there you go, there's the voice, take it or leave it. And it was also very much about class, the folk songs that they would sing. It was like songs from the mills and songs about gender equality and all of these things that are from also like hundreds of years ago that these songs were written, but they're like documenting a variety of class struggles and also gender struggles. So it's also fascinating in that sense. Oh my God, so I found out the other day, I was listening to a podcast and I was literally sobbing because I found out there was a strike in Burnley, which is the town that I'm from, in the cotton mills. During the American Civil War, there was a blockade on the cotton that was coming from the southern states, and Liverpool broke the blockade and allowed in the cotton that was like grown by slaves. And then the cotton came to Burnley and all the workers went on strike. And they said, absolutely not. We're not going to weave cotton that was made by slaves. We support emancipation.
That's amazing.
I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it. Like, because I feel like growing up, like Burnley is like really a racist place. There's like a lot of really fucked up stuff that people are very loud about in Burnley. But there's also the majority of people in Burnley that are not like that, Mm-hmm. And I think that, I don't know, it just really moved me to know that that's also something that goes all the way back to hundreds of years ago, that the majority of people are not like that. Like the majority of people do care about people and do show solidarity. Oh,
I really think about the power of workers actually being able to stop weapons exports to Israel. Absolutely. It is possible.
Yeah. Totally. And it does happen as well. Like those people that have been striking in factories that were making weapons that are going to Israel. And more of that, because I feel like some people get so bogged down in like, we go to the protest so that we can try and change legislation and so that we can try and change politicians' minds. But politics is a farce. Like party politics and governmental politics is a farce. I'm interested in like workers' politics and how we can actually affect political change through things like strike action.
Maybe that brings us to like the art, the performance. Like, how do you feel as a performer? I mean, two questions. Like one is, what is the power or the worth of your work in the world as you feel it? I mean, because you do it, you wake up every day and you feel motivated to do it. How do you feel motivated and empowered in it? And what is the power of art right now to make change? Or what comes up for you when I say that?
Freaking hell. I mean, honestly, I've been going through a bit of an existential crisis recently about it, because for a long time I had like a really clear vision about what that was, and it was very much linked to drag and what I was doing as a drag performer. So maybe I can tell you a little bit first about how I saw it up until like the last 6 months, and then I can maybe try and we can figure out how I'm feeling about it now together.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are.
Yeah. But yeah, like as like a drag performer, I feel like my work was very much about like exploring all of the many facets of my being as a way of trying to inspire in others the realization that we are all multifaceted and that we all can be various different ways. I guess it comes from a bit of a resistance to people who say, oh, this is just the way it is, and I am like this just because I am like that, and to sort of realize that we do have a sense of agency and a sense of will about not only changing things in the world, but also changing ourselves and changing who we are. I remember when I was younger, back dissociated little kid, I was like, I felt that free will wasn't real. I thought that everything was determined. I was like very like rational, scientific, empirical. Everything's like boom, 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 boom. But then now I look at my life and I'm like, I changed my name. I changed the way that people call me in the streets. I can walk up to a stranger and they can refer to me in a certain way because of the decisions that I've made about how I adorn my body, about how I sit, how I talk. Like all of these things that have been conscious decisions that I've made have affected the way that I experience the world. And therefore, then I was exploring even further through drag about what are all of the various other ways that I can experience being. And through that, have like this like liberation of my own consciousness into like a sort of free space of, it's not like an outer body thing, but it's like understanding that then my will and my decisions can also then really seriously impact the way that I experience the world and that the world experiences me.
Yeah. Actually, that goes back, I feel like, to that sort of the spirit of what you were saying with deciding to have a child. Because at some point, you make a decision about like, this is how I want to be in the future.
Yeah. And owning that decision as well. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of the time people are kind of going around on autopilot. And I'm like, I get it. That was me pre-transition, honey. But you know what then? Transition. Like, be the person that you want to be. Like, who do you want to be? What's going to give you joy? What's going to make you feel like you're living a life worth living? And how can we also then not see ourselves as one thing, but really enjoy the madness that comes with being multiple things all at the same time?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also where I feel myself as also non-binary. And like non-binary not only as like, oh, I identify as non-binary, but like I live in a non-binary way. I experience my identity in a way that is not fixed, that is also an active rejection of the way that it was taught that it should be.
This to me is revolutionary and amazing and wonderful. And I'm glad that the conversation is even here. And I'm wondering, how did these two identities come into place, or how did those two decisions happen for you in terms of being non-binary and also choosing to take hormones to change your gender, sex?
Like sex characteristics. Yeah. I don't know, like, because for me, like, non-binary, it's not necessarily like just an identity, but it's also a political perspective and a worldview, in the same way as you can be like, oh, anti-racist or like feminist. It's like I see the world in a way where I don't think things are just black and white. I think that there are so many shades of grey and so much complexity to the world. It's also like against monoculture and like, I guess, for more of a permaculture and colourful and seeing all of the different shades of things that there are.
Yeah.
And celebrating that. So it's not just about me, it's also about how I see the world. Yeah. Whereas like trans is just about me. And it's not even just about like how I experience the world now. It's about a reflection on what I've been through, just a reflection on that I was born and I was assigned a gender at birth, and that doesn't align with the gender that I've now got. in my life, which I always find a little bit of a funny thing, because it's kind of like the fact that I was assigned a gender at birth, it's a violence for all of us. Like the fact when we are assigned gender at birth, it's something that's been taken away from us, and it's something that's prescribed to us, and it's a trauma that we all have. And so therefore to then be like, oh, my identity is based around that trauma, also is confusing, and I don't really understand that, you know. So for me, I'm more like thinking about things in like, well, what do I want? All right, I want tits, so I'm gonna stab my ass with hormones so that I can keep growing tits. But I also want to have like big muscly arms so that I can like hold the people that I love really tight. So then I go and I work out my arms. And, you know, it's more of like a case by case thing of just thinking like, how do I want my body to reflect the things that I want to be able to do with my body? And less to do with like, how do I fit into any kind of societal notion about what I should be? Which I guess more links to the non-binary as seeing things as being multicoloured than it links to gender as something which is prescribed in any way.
Yeah. Oh, I really love how you're describing all this. Yeah. It makes so much sense. Deeply, deeply makes sense.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, that maybe brings me to questions around drag. I think for me, growing up feeling like pretty... like non-binary before non-binary had a name, or not binary, which I like to use. Performing femininity always felt like a drag, but like a drag.
Yeah.
It's a fucking drag. I gotta put on a skirt. I gotta like dress up like a girl.
Absolutely. It's a lot of hard work. Yeah. It's hard being a woman.
It is. Or that kind of woman.
Yeah.
So then I think for me, when I first saw drag, I think what I had a hard time with was that I did perceive it as very binary at the time when I first saw it.
Yeah.
And I also saw that the portrayals of femininity felt for me also very prescribed, or like a certain kind of very loud femininity that I also was like, some of it was fun, but it also felt very hard for me to understand, attain, and also didn't feel like it reflected my sense of what it was to be a woman or like even socialized as a woman. So I think it took me a while to like even take on what it could be or find a place. Like I think as I was finding my place in performance art, I was like, well, I guess it's a drag. Maybe it's some other kind of drag. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Now I feel like the conversation has already gotten a lot advanced. Like when I see drag shows, I think it's changed. I mean, I also see it changed even in like the ballroom scene as well. I mean, anyway, I wanted to hear more from you about...
I mean, I completely agree. Like, when I first started going out to the clubs in looks and things like that, I'd be, like, going out wearing random shit, and people would be like, oh, what's your name? And I'd say, like, my old name, and then people would be like, oh, no, what's your drag name? And I was like, I'm not in drag. I first got into drag by being so against drag. I was like, absolutely not, because I saw what was happening, like, on TV and specifically on Drag Race, and was just like, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not like those men pretending to be a very sexist version of femininity. And that's coming from somebody that was watching Drag Race and loving it. You know, like, I'm not saying like, oh, this is shit, but it's just not what I was doing at all. Yeah. Because like, honey, I'm a feminist. And then I first got into drag through drag kinging as a way of, I guess, rejecting these roles and like, and also cherishing the masculinity in me and all these different kinds of things. But I feel like to be able to understand like the way that binary gender manifests itself in drag in a toxic way, I think we've also just got to think about how binary gender is in itself just like a toxic thing. You know, like the feminists in like the 80s and 90s who were like, we're stopping identifying as a woman because woman means of man. And like the entire word woman is linked to the fact that Eve was made out of Adam's rib. And that everything about the concept of woman is about woman being inferior to man, you know? So I feel like I was coming to drag at a time when I was also very much critical of binary gender and in the way that it is like formed by patriarchy. So as I was discovering my queerness, I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm a woman, because I was like, but I'm not a woman, not only because I'm not in terms of my own gender identity, but I'm not also as a political choice, because I don't want to make myself be something which is societally constructed in a way which is a binary, but also a hierarchical binary. Does this make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. I just haven't heard it said so well. It's nice. It's really nice. Yeah. I think you're putting it really well. And it absolutely makes sense. Nice. Deeply. Yeah, good. For sure. Do you feel like these are shared values in the queer community now? To me, it's kind of a unique view, but maybe I'm not necessarily seeing it put that way.
No, absolutely. No, I do think that's the case. And this is what inspired me to write. I've got a lot of opinions, and I think that I want to get them down on paper. And it's something that I feel like I was talking a lot about on stage, but it felt like there's a limit to how far your words can reach when you're like stuck in queer bars. And if I feel like I have this perspective that I feel like even my own community isn't necessarily on board with, like, never mind the wider world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For me, these realizations have been things that have been so liberating from the shackles of gender, not only as a trans person, but also as a quote-unquote woman and as like a feminine person, to also release myself from the shackles of femininity and how that can be also a prison. And I feel like there's like this vision of like queer people as being like, oh, we have a really hard life. But I'm like, honestly, I feel like I'm kind of doing all right in terms of like my gender and everything like that. But I see other people really struggling with their gender, like cis people, like really struggling with their gender so much,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And for me, that's so heartbreaking because there's not even an awareness about it.
Yeah.
Because like people are aware of the fact that it can be difficult to live your life as a trans person, but I don't think that people are aware of the fact that it's actually more difficult to live your life as a cis person because you're trapped. And to see people stuck in their cisgender role, they're stuck in their heterosexuality, and they're playing a game that is rigged, and they are constantly losing. All the time. Men, women, losing. And just not finding happiness, release, community, all of the things that give, for me, my life meaning, that make me feel nourished. And it feels like there's this very, ironically, sterile world of cisgender heteronormativity that a pity. Isn't it a pity? Isn't it a shame?
Yeah.
And maybe that's bad though as well, because I don't want it to be like, oh, I've got it all figured out, because I don't have it all figured out by any stretch of the imagination. But I feel lucky that I was told a story and I wasn't able to identify with the characters in that story. Yeah. So I wrote my own one. And in writing my own one, I feel like I've managed to figure some things out. And then you see people, you know, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, no, it's like I'm so grateful for like going down that gender and sexuality journey and like daring to do it.
Yeah.
For sure. You're such an eloquent speaker. And so I'm very excited to read your book. I'm like really excited to read it. So I want to hear more about it. It is.
I mean, I haven't written anything in it for like a year because I don't have time, and the world changed so drastically. Like, what the fuck? When I started writing it, it was before Trump's second term. It was before AI. Even,
wow.
You know? Or before it was as big as it is now, and as much of a part of our lives now.
Yep.
Before the genocide began is when I started writing it. And then it got to the point where I was like, who the fuck cares about all of this shit that I'm writing about? Like this is so meaningless. And I completely lost the will to continue with it. It just felt so trivial.
Yeah.
I guess it's just sitting on my computer. And I thought about maybe just like even just making like little zines with it printed out. I mean, no matter what, I think it was a really worthwhile exercise to write all of it down. Yeah. Because it's definitely influenced the way that I now write lyrics or scripts, for example. And it helped me to like feel a bit grounded in my in my worldview and in my belief system as well. And also there's like a big bit in it which is about what is a 3-dimensional spectrum of gender, what would that be like, and trying to like map out like a gender spectrum using my various drag characters as like poles on an axis, basically.
Nice.
So, like,
yeah.
taking all of this like basically like field work that I did in drag by exploring all these different characters to like actually map out like a framework of understanding gender, which I think is probably the most interesting part of the book, because it's like taking something that we're so used to seeing as just like a linear thing, and even within like a non-binary framework, we still see it as like masculine and feminine, and then the shades of grey between.
Right.
But to then imagine like, okay, if we've got like a vertical axis, which is from masculine to feminine, what is the horizontal axis?
Yeah.
What is that? What is gender when we think about it in such a way?
Yeah.
And like for me, like the base of that is what I experienced with my character Bog, who's the toilet troll. Who's like completely just gives up to the whims of the body completely. Like I feel my energetic center in like my genitals and in my asshole, and like I'm low to the ground and I'm dribbling and I'm like picking my nose and just not really thinking with like my rational brain so much, and just completely feeling my body. Like I was Bog in the club and I literally was just pissing like all over my own body, like because I needed to piss. So I was just like, did it, you know? Such a nice feeling.
Love that. Love it.
And then the opposite of that is it would be then the Zog, the alien character, who's like bright green and who is a bit more like robotic in movement and very rational, very of the mind, and is very astounding to look at. And it's almost like this sacred or like holy thing. And I've been doing some like workshops with people where I get like a group of people in a room to explore these different axes.
Ooh, I love it.
And like I get everybody experiencing like the root one, and people are like crawling around the floor, and everyone's just like, it's just like mental, like crazy. It's so much fun. And then when we did the exploration to the upper one, someone would sing and then somebody else would sing in like a harmony with them, and it became like this group experience. And it went from it being something that was very a solo mission, like rooted in your own body, to something that's almost like extending beyond your own body and reaching out for the other bodies that are in the room to create like a collective.
Incredible.
So then I started to see like if the vertical axis is like the social axis from these social roles of like masculine and feminine, then I saw the vertical axis as like the spiritual axis from like the like, very much rooted in your own self, and then very much rooted in the space that's just outside of yourself.
Cool. Really cool. It brings up this thing I did with hyenas where we were doing the binary of sacred and profane. And I was thinking about how these two, I think, are really like interesting socially constructed binaries, because I also feel like the sacred is very dirty and very like bloody.
Yeah.
You
absolutely.
know? I mean, or what I really consider sacred rather than clean and holy or something, you know, and like disrupting that. So I don't know, I very much identify with this axie thing.
Yeah,
so
it's exciting to play with that for sure.
Totally. So what's the third one though then?
So the third one I understood as the political axis, which is about it's about how far you lean into the connection with others, and understanding political as any kind of interaction with other beings, like other people, or any kind of being, to be honest. So the things that I saw as being further back on the political axes was like the more passing drag that I do, like Carol, like the things that are more just like unoffensive and unobtrusive to the world, and to understand that as something which is also part of your gender expression, like whether you make decisions to create disruption. And then the furthest forward is wrecking, which is this thing that Jane County speaks about in her autobiography, where she would go out with her other drag mates and she would just go around the town screaming and cackling and like throwing her tits at people and like just being mental. Like this is very Tunter as well, like this wrecking energy, which is like unashamed, hysterical, that's wrecking. And I think that the performance that I did that was really exploring this binary was when I was this drunk British straight girl in the club who had lost a bag, and I was like, go dancing, like crying, like, where's my bag? And like to look at, I was completely like, not passing, like I was still like a tranny, but it was like I was going for passing energy. I was like dressed as a cisgender woman.
Yeah.
It was like, how the hell did she get into the club in Berlin? But then the performance that I was doing was wrecking, like, because I was completely disrupting everybody's night and like going up to people on the dance floor being like, have you seen my phone? It's like a black rectangle. It's got all my pictures on it. I need to text my boyfriend. And like people are like, how did this girl even get into the club? It's like,
so good.
So that's how I see the sort of Z axis.
I
the
love
axis that
it.
goes towards and away from.
Oh, I love it. It's really great. It's very expansive. I hope that we can kind of go towards that societally.
Yeah,
because
it's just interesting to just be aware of it.
Fuck,
you know,
yeah.
it's like it doesn't mean that you have to be any kind of way.
But
it's
you
like,
are.
But
anyway,
yeah,
right?
we are always doing this. Like you act differently, like when you're like in the club than you do when you're like in church. We all change who we are depending on our context. So we're always like exploring this axis to a certain degree. But then I was just like, let's really push it as far as I can go and see which sort of like alter egos manifest on the different parts of this.
Well, it makes me think that there may be even more axes. Because you really opened my mind. Like, this is a great way to think about it. And
Absolutely.
there's probably other spectrums that were... I mean, one is also time, I think. That's like, wow, the genders I've performed along my time axis are really interesting, right?
Yeah. Because it's always fluid and changing, yeah.
If you were to describe what this book is about, how would you describe it? I know this is just one part of it, so how would you describe it more?
It was, the working title is Drag, Disruption and Dissent. And it's basically about drag as a tool for changing shit up in yourself and in society. And this whole thing that I was saying before about like how I used to see like what I was doing as an artist, about this kind of like claiming autonomy over the self through the decisions that we make with drag, how we adorn our bodies. Like, because for me, that's what drag is. Drag is like all of the ways in which we make our gender intelligible, whether we are aware that we're doing drag or not. We're all born naked and the rest is drag. like if like a lovely lady puts on some lipstick to go to work, like you don't really notice the drag because there's nothing disruptive happening.
Yeah.
And in the same way, if you like paint a wall blue, you look at it and you see wall, you don't see paint. But then when you paint a canvas blue and put it on a wall, then you see a painting. And it's like this transition from like noun to verb, from like drag being something that just is to being drag that's something that is done.
Right.
And that is like active and living. And I think that that's what drag artists do. We take drag, which is this thing which is all around us anyway, but we re-signify and we amplify it in order to make it visible. And from that is an artistic process.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So how does it differ from performance? Because I think also performance is, to me, I could be sitting here brushing my hair, and then if I put it on a stage, I'm re-signifying this action. And then so many things could be read through that about my gender, about my race, about the things that are on my body, about the stool I'm sitting on even, like many things. So yeah, I'm curious, like, why the word drag as opposed to performance, or is it one and the same in your mind?
Absolutely not. No, like drag is, for me, performance is an element within drag.
Okay.
But, like drag is also like costume, it's adornment, which is not necessarily performance in my mind. Like in my mind, performance is like doing something with your body in order to express. But drag is also like how we dress that body and how we do all of these other things. With drag, it's also less conscious, because I feel like if I think about, I'm making a performance, then I'm thinking about what I'm doing. But with drag, I'm not making a performance, I'm making an alter ego who then doesn't consciously perform, but just behaves in a certain way because I have become another way of being. So like, for example, with Camp Dad, or with if I like thinking of Camp Dad, like I don't like plan what I'm going to do in terms of my performance, but I wear clothes that make me feel a certain kind of way. I play music that makes me behave a certain kind of way, and then I go onto the stage, which is like a ritual space, and I live that character really in front of people. And the same for all of the other characters. Like that for me is what's different about drag.
I love it. I love how you're conceiving of it. I feel like that is the ideal form of drag. And I hope for that. Like I would aspire to that, to allow myself to so like be open to the character that I put on, that I allow it to kind of seep out of me. Yeah. I don't know that I or other performers like approach it in that same way. Some performers seem to pre-plan everything, basically. Let's put it like that.
Which is fair enough, and like whatever floats your boat. But for me, then it's not. Drag isn't also just about what we do on stage. Like I started doing drag not on stages, and for me, what's central about drag is that we as queer people gather together in space, and we all do drag. First of all, everybody's doing drag all the time, but queer people specifically are consciously doing drag when we share space together, because we are consciously deciding how we exist. Like think about the clubs in Berlin where people are like planning their outfits, and then they go to the club wearing their outfit, and then they're living that fantasy of being that version of themselves. Drag isn't just what happens on stage. Drag is what happens all of the time, and it's conscious very often in queer spaces. So like I was first doing drag when I would like dress up as like a guy and go to the gay bars feeling my I'm a hot man fantasy, and like flirting with gay men, and like feeling like that, like that's also part that's drag.
Yeah,
that's the drag.
I have to. I mean, hello.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like also feeling like my femme fantasy, and like feeling like Bog. I only have done like 1 or 2 performances as Bog. Like Bog's normally immersive because it's about what I do in the space and how I interact with the people. Like that's the performance.
Have I met Bog? I have a picture of someone who I think is Bog.
Yeah. With like 3 strands of
hair.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that like drag performers use the stage as ritual space to manifest new ways of being. And like the little boy who was told that he wasn't allowed to wear dresses, like puts on a dress and goes onto the stage and is celebrated by a whole room of people and will forever be changed by that ritual.
Yeah.
But then also you wear the dress not only on the stage, you wear it in the bar. You wear it when you're like ordering your drink. And when you order your drink, you don't say, oh, I'll have a beer, please. You say, I would love to have a glass of wine, please. And you're feeling your fantasy and you're living your fantasy. Like that's drag. It's living. And it happens not only on the stage, it happens whenever we make these decisions. And for me, that's what's so precious about like something like TRACEY, you know, like these parties where people go and they like dress up and they live their fucking fantasy. Like drag is living your fantasy.
I love the definitions you're giving. And so like one thought that comes to me is just like, I know that it's more than just putting on the outfit for many people. What would you say to someone who's like, okay, I put on the outfit. I went outside in the outfit. I'm here. Now what? I'm locked. I'm afraid. Like how do I live the fantasy? Like, is there, you know, if you could give like a piece of advice to like, because I feel like there's just that element of freedom. There's that element that you have clearly, but I don't know that everyone does.
It's play. It's play. It's a playground. And like, if you're worried, then maybe you're not playing with the right people. And maybe you can like find some people to play with and just be like, do you want to play together? And create a safe space like that. And if it's like, oh, you go to the bar and you feel real uncomfortable, like the bar is the problem. You're not the problem. Like find another context in which you can play.
This gets on it because it makes me think, yeah, that's the thing is why I feel like a lot of us get high or drunk, because it allows us to get into that element of play.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, of course, it can be really beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But what about when it doesn't suit us anymore, or it never suited us, or it leads us to places we don't want to be? Like, how do we play sober? You know, like, how do we find that part of us sober, you know?
I mean, this is why I like workshops as well, to be honest, and like doing workshops about like gender performance and stuff, because that's like a safe, sober space in which we can play.
True.
That's the point. And I feel like the kids are all right. Like they're kind of getting turned off by drinking already, and by like the excesses that like, our generations have been a bit more indulgent in, because it was a bit more the norm. Like norms are changing in a way which I think is really going to be beneficial to the longevity of queer culture, and also the accessibility of it as well. Now I feel like I'm barely even doing drag. Like I'm not doing drag so often. It's like a rare treat to get to do drag. Like most of the time when I'm performing and when I'm like making like work for the stage, it's like I'm singing and I'm doing the things with Eve and the dames.
But that's not drag?
I mean, it is, but it's not in the same way as like Camp Dad is like I'm fully being another character. Yeah. Whereas like with the dames, I'm kind of being myself, and like I lean into different parts of myself for sure. And there's certain songs that I will like feel a little bit of my Camp Dad energy coming out. Certain songs where I feel a bit of my Shirley Knott energy coming out. Like I definitely lean into all of these different worlds a bit, but I'm Nancy. Like I'm not an alter ego. I'm like ego. I'm like being myself. And I feel like the value of the work that I'm doing with Eve and with the dames is that it's all about empathy, and it's about like getting like a room full of people to empathize with a couple of trannies who, like, people always hear about trans people, but so few people actually meet them. I mean, we in our queer bubble for sure, but like when we're performing outside of the queer bubble, for some people it might be their first time seeing a trans person, and then we're there like talking a bit about our experiences, and like then also through music, like literally forcing people to connect with us. Evil. Like we bleed on the stage and we give so much and we share our hearts in a way that is so vulnerable and raw. It can be a lot. Like sometimes after a Dames show, I'm like, I feel emotionally exhausted. Like I just truly felt so many different things. Yeah. And in the same way that I feel like when I'm doing drag, I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing because the alter ego has the wheel and is like making the decisions on my behalf. Right. Mm-hmm. When I'm performing with Eve, it's kind of a bit of an out-of-body experience because I am making decisions for sure, but also the way that Eve plays also impacts the way that I sing and the way that I feel. And like we influence each other, and there's Eve playing piano, there's me singing, and then there's this other thing that happens which is like more than each of us alone, and I feel like drawn to play in different ways from that. It again, like, although that might seem really straightforward to you, I think that's actually really special kind of positioning and way of being. Like it means for me, like I'm hearing you say that you're an empath, and that you are able to open yourself up to that extent to be influenced by others. Because I think so many people actually find it really difficult to be open and flexible enough to let others really guide them, or, you know, to even to co-create sometimes, you know? And I think it's a really special gift. And that was the gag that came from working with the dames, is because I always felt like I was an empath, because I feel like when people talk to me about stuff, I really start to feel what they're feeling. Mm-hmm. But then with the dames, I was like, oh, but it also flows both ways. Because if I'm feeling an emotion on the stage, then like I look out into the audience and I can see them feeling it. And I'm like, yeah, that's music, but that's also the fact that I'm being so honest with how I'm feeling, you know? And that's the beautiful thing about it, I think. And I'm still like learning, and I'm still growing into it, and still figuring it out. And it's so much influenced by all of this journey that I went through with drag, but it is also its own completely different thing, because it's to do with music, and it's to do with things that I think are also a little bit more accessible, which also then makes it more possible to share with people that might not necessarily go and see a drag show. Yeah. Which I think is also really important. Because like, honey, queer people are everywhere. Even somebody that you wouldn't think of as queer, they've thought about it. Like, everyone's a little bit like, you've tried on a bra at least once, don't lie. Like, when your wife's left the house, you've totally gone and tried it on. And then, like, these people then see me and Eve, like, not only connecting to ourselves, but also connecting to each other. And I feel like the power of the dames is also our fucking absolute, complete and utter adoration of one another. And I feel like so often, like, when trans femmes are represented, they're represented in competition.
Yeah.
And, like, just women generally, you know, like catty ass, like competitive energy. And it's just like, nah, like, we love each other, we support each other, we listen to each other so deeply. And that's also what it's all about. And, like, to also display that sisterhood, that really deep, special bond that can happen amongst sisters. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
You're a preacher of empathy. But not through your preaching, through your being somehow. That's what I'm hearing.
I hope so, because to be honest, the world could do with a bit more empathy, couldn't it?
Fuck yeah.
Like, I feel like that's kind of the missing ingredient. Like, I feel like everything's so, like, rationalized, and we see things as, like, figures and numbers, and it's all very empirical, isn't it? But I think that that's kind of the most beautiful thing, is to actually be able to, like, feel it, and to be able to, like, find the love in it as well. And to understand love not only as something that happens amongst, like, partners in marriage or amongst parents and children, like, but that love is something that can also be extended to a community. It can be extended to a whole room of people through empathy. Like, if we're all in a room and we're all empathizing with each other, like, that's a love connection. And that's gorgeous.
You just heard from performer, singer, drag artist, and writer Nancy Nutter. You can read more about her in the show notes or at nancynutter.net. I'm Mad Kate, and you've been listening to S.W.E.A.T, Sexuality, Work, Extraction, Art, Theatrics. S.W.E.A.T is a series of conversations about performance and performativity of the sexual and sexualized body in work. The theme music was composed by me and features the voice of performer and actress Lori Baldwin. S.W.E.A.T airs first every second Tuesday of the month at 13 hours Central European Time on Collaboratio. Afterwards, it's available for streaming wherever you get your podcasts. S.W.E.A.T is entirely a labor of love. If you like what you hear, please consider supporting the show through my Patreon page. That's at patreon.com/SWEAT podcast. Thanks so much. Until next time.